Starting off small will get you further away than just not doing anything and overthinking it in your head. Motivation won't come on its own. You have to start doing things so it comes along. Why do you go in the negative scenario? Why not go in the positive side of it? What if it did work out? The power you give to your thought is how the thought will be perceived. So if you keep thinking on the negative, you will obviously convince yourself of all these negative things.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Madrid season of Reclaiming Bossy. I am so excited to be here with you today. I'm very hyped for this conversation because I'm joined by my good friend Nena, and we're talking all about photography, fashion, and building a creative career in Madrid. If you want to move to Spain and you've had issues with your visa, if you want to work in creative industry, and if you care about community, then this is the conversation for you. I hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned and comment down below any questions or ideas you have from this episode. Thank you. Reclaiming Bossy Madrid, let's go, Nena. I'm so excited to have you here and to be sitting here 2 years after we met having this conversation. Can you please start by introducing yourself as if you're speaking to someone that you've never met before?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on this podcast. I'm really excited as well. My name is Nena. I'm originally from Macedonia and I'm a fashion photographer in Madrid. My journey abroad started 7 years ago, and then I ended up building a photography business in Madrid because I couldn't find a traditional job.
That's incredible. And I remember meeting you 2.5 years ago. You had just moved to Madrid to do a master's in fashion photography, and now you run your own photography business and you've done all of these incredible shoots and creative projects. So, can you start with your journey of what brought you into fashion photography and creative industry?
I started studying photography in Slovenia, so I moved there to do my degree, and then I did an Erasmus year in Granada where I fell in love with Spain in general. But talking about creativity, I think like I've been creative my whole life. Like I was drawing when I was little, and then I started with photography, and it's kind of been like, for me, once I started doing photography, it was clear that it will be fashion, just because it's always something that attracted my attention. And then I fell in love with Granada, so I had to finish my degree in Slovenia, and then I moved back to Madrid, as you said, to do a master in fashion styling and photography.
Awesome. Okay, before we dive into building a creative career and how you've managed to do that in Madrid, everyone loves Spain. I also came here and studied abroad and fell in love, but there is a whole disadvantage in terms of the visa and the bureaucracy, and a lot of international people struggle to establish themselves here because of all of that. And so, can you talk us through your journey a little bit of becoming autónoma or self-employed in Spain and how you were able to create this career and stay here?
Yeah, so as you mentioned before, I was studying the master's and I was looking for a job in the creative industry, I think for like about 7 months. And honestly, like I feel like the interview would go well and they would say, okay, well, we'll keep in touch for like further interviews or like when you start. And then when I mentioned that obviously I will need them to sponsor my visa because Macedonia is not in the European Union, so I need a permit to stay in Spain. And then they would be like, oh, we'll consult that with the lawyer. And then they would never get back to me. So I was like, okay, that's frustrating. And then as I was coming to the end of the master, I was like, well, I don't see any other option. I'm just gonna be autónoma in Spain. Like, I can start my own business here, and then I'm not prepared for it at the moment, but I do not wanna go back. Like, I've worked so hard to come to Spain, and I worked so hard in those 2 years to build a network here. So it just felt like failure if I had to move out of the country and start over again.
The visa process in Spain is hell. I also had some issues when I lived here because I come from the UK, also not in the EU, hashtag Brexit, not very happy about it. But I remember sitting and crying on the phone with lawyers, trying to figure out what the right paperwork was to do, getting scammed by fake lawyers, having to go pay all these taxes at ATMs that I didn't really understand. And it was really overwhelming. So do you have advice for international students and people that want to move here on how you can navigate the process and anything that you've learned around making it less miserable?
I feel like the most important thing is to understand Spanish. Maybe even if you have a basic level of understanding, to be able to to talk to people, because the better you understand the language, the easier the process will be. I feel like it's even more overwhelming having to like read through documents and not understanding because your first language is not Spanish, obviously. For me, I think in that sense it was easier because I did learn Spanish when I was studying in Granada. And then just to like have patience. I feel like people are used to stuff moving faster, and in Spain all the processes are slow. Like even if you do everything right, you will end up waiting then, I don't know, 6 7 months to get your permit. I waited 7 months after to get my visa. Like I did everything right, and then they say you have like 3 months to finish the process and then you can't be in the country, but my process lasted 7 months. So like I asked the lawyer, I was like, okay, so I'm here now, legal, illegal, like what's going on? And they were like, you're in limbo. I was like, okay, thank you. That helped. Like I'm in legal limbo, whatever that means.
I had the same as well. I came as a student, and with the UK visa system, I was able to enter, and I changed my tourist visa for a student visa. So I was also in legal limbo for 9 months. And I remember having a visa party to celebrate and celebrating each anniversary of the day that I moved. So the 25th of every month, me and all my friends in my community, we would have a little party to celebrate why we love living in Spain. And I think, like I said, the visa process can be really difficult. But what made you want to stay, aside from the fact that you had spent so much time here? Tell us a little bit about the creative community in Madrid and how you've built that, and advice for international people that come and they start their life from scratch. Like, why is it worth it?
It's about community, I would say. I lived in Slovenia before that 4 years, and I never felt like I got my foot into the industry. Like it was really hard talking to people, it was hard meeting people, it was hard even to do like a collaborative project with anyone. Like people were just like so closed off and they were so competitive that you couldn't like form a working relationship or collaboration or whatever, because they thought like you would, I don't know, steal their client or whatever. Whereas in Spain, when in Madrid, here Madrid is like quite international, and I feel like it's been really easy to talk to people, to meet a lot of creative people, and to be able to connect. You start off doing collaborations and then you end up working. A lot of the people I met in the beginning when I moved are still friends of mine till this day, and I think that's amazing. Like you can build a community here and you can build a life.
And do you have advice for anyone who's moving to, whether it's Madrid or a new city, they don't know anyone, maybe they're a little bit more introverted and shy? How can you make new friends? How can you build that community? How can you take that first step?
It's all about stepping out of your comfort zone and trying to meet people. To be fair, I was as well like quite shy when I started meeting people and going like to different networking events. I think events in general help. Like you can go to networking ones, you can go to fashions ones, you can go to anything that's connected to your interest,
Mm-hmm.
and just start talking to people there. Even if you talk like with one person at the event, I would say it's a win. Like just start doing stuff and pushing yourself out of the comfort zone so you can meet people. Otherwise, you will be there and you will not know anyone, and it will not help your situation.
That's amazing. Okay, so we've talked about community building. Let's talk about portfolio building, because that's something that creatives really struggle with. And how can you go from kind of freelancer portfolio or a student portfolio to a more professional portfolio? What was that journey for you?
So for me, it was really important to build that portfolio. Obviously, I started off when I was studying, I was doing collaborations with creatives. So I would do different projects, let's say an editorial shoot or like a small campaign shoot that was improvised, but I don't know, I would contact emerging designers and would ask them, hey, like, do you want to do a shoot together? I would love to like shoot your clothing line, even if it has three outfits, you know? It's just like working on the idea and on the project, and then doing the shoots as well helps you build a portfolio. And obviously, photography, like the more you do it, the more practice you have, the better you get at it. I think it's the same with anything. Like if you keep
Yeah.
doing it over and over, you will obviously get better at what you're doing. And then I started taking on like clients. I started with small projects. I did individual shoots. I did campaigns for like emerging brands, for sustainable brands. And from there, I built the portfolio.
That's awesome. In terms of getting your first client, that's a big milestone in business, even a freelancer. Learning how to have those conversations, asking for what you deserve and charging is so scary, especially in a different country, in a different language. And so, do you have advice on how to get your first client and how you did that?
I would say be consistent on social media. Social media nowadays helps a lot. You can find a lot of clients from there. And as well, in the photography in business and fashion industry in general, I would say go to events. It's where you meet people and then you make a connection with this person, and that's how you get more projects. I feel like people, once they know you in person, they're more likely to trust you and to work with you, even though you have an amazing portfolio. Like they would pick you first because they've met you.
100%. Like, I get a lot of my work through going to events. With the social media stuff, I know a lot of people really want to, but they stop because they feel perfectionism kick in or they feel embarrassment. I think it's a cultural thing as well, depending on where you live in the world. Like, I'm British in the UK. It's not very cool to try hard. You're seen as, oh, like that's so cringe. Like, you're such a try hard and like it's not good anyways. Like, why would you do that? And so, do you have any advice on like overcoming the fear of embarrassment and showing up online?
I think today it's easier to show up online than it was before. I feel like maybe it's just me being in Spain, but I feel like everyone's present on social media. So why wouldn't you use your presence to build a business and to build a brand for yourself, and other than using it for like fun? I mean, it's still fun. It's a little bit of work, but still like it's easy to show up nowadays. I think even like if you go somewhere outside and you film, people sometimes give you looks, but then it's become so more normalized than before that it's easier to film. And obviously it's like weird talking to a camera. We all feel sometimes cringe, or you want the perfect video, the perfect idea for it. But starting off small will get you further away than just not doing anything and overthinking it in your head.
100%. You have to get going and then you get good. And you never know, like, people could be looking at you out of admiration rather than like judgment. Today I was walking on the metro with these crazy shoes and I was like, why are all these people staring at me? Should I have worn something more normal? And I was like, they probably just like my shoes. And it's the same on social media. When you do something that's scary, showing up, people often admire that rather than like criticize that. But it is horrifying. In terms of the business plan you said that you built for your visa, do you have advice on how you did that? Because I know a lot of creatives really struggle with that side. They think, I just want to focus on the creative stuff. I don't want to deal with the business or the finances or the operations. And so, how can you make a business plan or a marketing plan that works for you?
Yeah, like when you think about a business plan, it's something overwhelming. But I had to prepare my project for the master, and I decided to do my master's thesis about opening a studio in Madrid. So basically, I focused my business plan and like connected it with the master thesis. And I knew I had to do a lot of research. So I was like, right, well, this is extra motivation to start this. And obviously, because I had mentors in the industry, it was like easier to get more advice on like, okay, well, this is realistic. This is something you're just like dreaming about. Like, you can't do this like this, and you have to be more concrete in business. And I as well like talking to friends that are in marketing and that have done strategies and communications. They kind of gave me advice on the matter. And then, yeah, it was a lot of research. And from there, you try to find something interesting in the research, I would say, because it's not just about numbers. It's as well like understanding better your industry, understanding the market, understanding who are your competitors, and it helps you as well to position yourself and get better. So I think that's kind of like small motivation for why doing a business plan is not something so dreadful.
100%. And I found that the reality of what your business is actually like in the plan is so different. I made a plan before I started, and then I was like, oh, the people I actually want to work with aren't on this plan, and I had to change the plan and I had to restructure a few times. And so, what has been your experience with like the real life behind the plan?
I feel like the plan is the base of things. It's not something that you should go and follow along 20 like 100%. And obviously, as you grow and you change, your business plan would change and it would grow with you. So even if you've put it on paper, it doesn't mean that like you can't move in a different direction. It's like that connecting the gap between what's in theory and what's in practice. In practice, you just have to start doing things and then you take it as you go, because nobody knows 100% what they're doing, and we are all kind of making stuff up as we go. And it's about that. It's trial and error, and it's how you grow and how you learn.
Yeah. And speaking of growth, you already said that with photography, you get better with practice. It's the same with business, but there is a lot of active learning that you have to take the time to learn how to do things better, how to have better operations, how to educate yourself about finances, recruitment, leadership, all this stuff. So how do you teach yourself to be a better creative and a better businesswoman? I'm going to give you an example of how I do it.
Yeah.
So I love making lists, and I have a learn list, and that's kind of my curriculum as a podcaster, but also as a businesswoman. And every 3 months, I kind of sit down and I'm like, this is the skills that I want to learn to take myself, my business, my podcast to the next level. And then whenever I have time, I go watch a video on it or whatever. And so my makeup time in the morning is my learn list time. And I'll be watching all sorts of random videos on like how to use Claude or like how to do certain financing things or how to use certain equipment. And I find that gives me a lot of confidence to move towards the next step. So what is that like for you?
Yeah, for me, I would say it's more or less similar. Like, I would Google different topics on about stuff I need to know and what I need to find out. So I would consult maybe with AI and then do research on a topic. And then I did like buy a few different courses that I wanted to do. I did one for like marketing and social media. I felt like it was really important, and it was obviously connected to photography because you're building your visual identity on there. Listening to podcasts when I'm walking, or just like in general reading up on stuff. I feel like that's how you improve and you figure stuff out.
And do you have any specific resources that really helped you that you would recommend to creatives or people who are starting creative businesses?
I feel like apart from like, yeah, podcasts on different topics, you can do, I don't know, depending on what you're interested in, there's a lot of podcasts on there that you can find and learn about. Reading books as well. I like the books that are as well like about your mindset. I did read the one that's about the like creative journey of the artist, and then you have several that would help with imposter syndrome as well. I feel like working on your mind is quite important other than like just the creative stuff. I feel like you need to work on that as well.
And what do you find useful for working on your mind? Because I agree, I think that's the hardest part, the emotional side of, can I do this? Am I good enough? This is actually really hard. I'd have no idea what I'm doing. And like constantly reminding yourself that you can do it and that there's ways of figuring it out. What helps you in the mental side of everything?
When you're working on stuff, it's really easy to go like, right, I need to do this and I need to do that. And you're like 24/7 working, and your head is just like, it doesn't stop. You're like lying in bed and thinking, well, I need to do this because this will help my business. So I feel like for me, going out on walks or working out in the gym helps clear my head. As well, like doing yoga helps in kind of meditate and relax. And then obviously listening to podcasts or reading books that are connected to the topic will help.
That's really important. With mindset, you already touched on imposter syndrome, and you've done some incredible shoots since I last saw you. First of all, do you want to share some of those amazing rooms that you've been able to be a part of and projects you've been able to work on? And then also, how have you dealt with the imposter syndrome of, oh my God, like I'm here. How am I here? Am I good enough to be here? How can I sustain this?
Yeah, I did do a lot of cool projects. I worked on bigger productions for editorials and magazines such as like French Fries magazines, Behind the Blinds, Vane, and different ones that are known in Spain. I did work alongside actors like Mario Casas and Miguel Bernadeo from Elite, the series. I did go as a production assistant, and I did a few as a photography assistant or a styling assistant. So I kind of tried out all the roles. I feel like it helps learn to see people that are obviously more experienced than you and have grown, how they do things. And you also see like the bigger picture of how a whole production team works, because when you start off it's just you and yourself, and then obviously you have a team of like 5, 10, 15 people depending on the production. So it really helps seeing how all that comes together and actually being part of the process, being there, like feeling the rush of things, and just like you start off with a plan and then things don't go according to plan, so you have to adapt and you have to overcome. And I feel like that's something really amazing and exciting to see. And about the imposter syndrome, I think it's about, for me, it's constantly having a conversation with myself and trying to convince myself that like all your thoughts are just thoughts. They're in your head, they're not facts. So like the power you give to your thought is how the thought will be perceived. So if you keep thinking on the negative, you will obviously convince yourself of all these negative things. But you can as well think of the positive. Like, why do you go in the negative scenario? Why not go in the positive side of it? Like, what if it did work out? Like, you know, I try to focus on the positive and like, how would that make me feel? I feel like that's really important.
It is so important. And I often remind myself that the best case scenario is just as likely as the worst case scenario. And sitting here again, Nena and I met 2.5 years ago, when my podcast was like little project on Zoom with wired headphones, like 3 people were listening, and I had a vision for where I wanted to take it. And you also were starting out on your journey, you were studying, you were learning, and I feel like both of us are living a best case scenario. And so what advice would you have to a younger version of yourself and people who are listening that are starting out in their journey, of what you know now, and maybe either how you could have got there quicker, got there happier, more relaxed? What do you wish you knew starting out like 2 years ago?
I would say to people to like always believe in themselves and their dream. Even though you might hear critics and people around you that say like be more realistic. No, don't be more realistic. I feel like that's the worst advice people give, like be more realistic. What do you mean? Like what's realistic for you? So just like have your dream and then start taking small steps and actions to make it happen. I feel like if you keep believing, it will happen, and as long as you keep taking small steps to make it happen, it will work out. And obviously, if you want to get somewhere faster, learn from people that already have walked the way you want to walk and have grown and have the experience you want to gain. Take advice from people like have what you want to achieve. Don't take advice from people that don't have what you want to achieve. It makes no sense.
100%. And I think part of that is surrounding yourself with the right people. You already touched on community, and now you're building your own community with Swap Party. So tell the people who are in Madrid and who are coming and visiting Madrid, what is Swap Party and how can they get involved?
Swap Party Madrid is an exchange of clothes party, kind of like a second hand, but it's more than just the fashion behind it. It's as well like a creative event where we have DJs, we have music, there's stylists. So you kind of connect with like-minded people and do a little networking, and you would meet people and build a community, I would say. 4 of us started it. One of them is my friend Paul, that's a designer, my friend Kathy, that's a stylist, and another girl, Trini, that's a DJ. And we started the idea together, but it came from Kathy, which she always wanted to do these swap parties, and she did like a smaller one before on her own, and then we decided to do it together because all of us brings their own little thing to the project, and then we help each other make it better and build it better. So all the swap parties we organize ourselves, we do everything. We do from the social media side of it, like the marketing, the videos, the flyers, ads, everything. And then obviously the organizational part, searching for a venue, making it all happen together.
I love that. And what I find really compelling from everything that you've said is that you just do stuff. And I feel like you have like a big bias towards action. You wanted to stay in Spain, so you set up the business. You wanted to set up the business, so you just put yourself out there and you did the clients. You found this opportunity with Swap Party and you just set it up. What homework do you have for people who are still listening to this conversation and how they can be more action oriented around their goals? If you had to do one thing, like what would you say is the takeaway that all the listeners have to do?
I would say sit down with yourself and think about one goal, one dream. If the dream seems too big, think about one small goal you would like to achieve. Write down the goal and then write down one step you could do today to make that happen. I don't know, it could be only posting one photo or posting one video or listening to a podcast or listening to a YouTube video that will help you learn something around your goal. I think it's just starting off with small steps, because I feel like as you start doing things, you get more inspired and motivated. Motivation won't come on its own. You have to start doing things so it comes along.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Nena. Where can the listeners find you? I'm going to link everything down below, but if they want to work with you, if they want to come to one of the swap parties, if they want to follow your journey, where can they find you?
On Instagram. So my personal account is artisticmind.n.p, and then the swap party is obviously as well on Instagram. It's Swap Party Madrid.
Amazing. My last question, since this is Reclaiming Bossy, have you ever been called Bossy, and what does it mean to you? Are you reclaiming it in this season of your life?
So many times. Yeah, I've been called bossy so often. I think for me, it comes as well, like from my culture. I am quite direct and straightforward. So sometimes, let's say we're on a shoot and like you have a limited time, and I start telling people what to do things, and sometimes it sounds a bit bossy because it's like straightforward. But for me, it's the only way to be efficient. So if that means being bossy, sometimes you gotta take the role on, you know?
Hey, shit needs to get done, you know?
Yeah,
Someone needs to say it.
I agree.
Thank you so much for being here. It was such an honor, and I'm so excited that we got to do this. This almost feels like a manifestation moment, because I remember the first time we met, you asked me if you thought this would be a good collaboration. And we went and we got coffee and we were talking about what we wanted down the line. And it's awesome to see that we both got that and some. So, what are your wishes and aspirations for the next season of your life? Because this can be a time capsule for you, for the listeners, and for everyone engaging in the conversation.
Thank you. It was my pleasure being on the podcast as well. And I agree. I remember that conversation when we have literally like manifested what we wanted to do. So I think next it would be owning my own studio, having like a bigger net of contacts and doing more editorial shoots, more campaigns, more of the fun stuff in fashion, and just being able to maybe even go internationally. I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, that's so exciting. Guys, you have to go follow Nena on her journey. I'm going to link all her socials below. If you have any questions from this conversation that are more specific around fashion, around photography, around building a creative career in Madrid, please get in contact and let us know what you want to see in this season. Thank you so much.